70% of fans seek additional stats and digital insights during games, indicating the demand for ongoing digital interaction before, during, and after events. My name is Paul Nashawaty. I'm a practice lead and principal analyst for the AppDev practice, and I'm joined by Chris from Twilio. Chris, how are you doing today?
Good. I'm so glad to see you again. Glad to be back.
Yeah, likewise. It's great to have you on. It's always insightful, the information. But Chris, why don't you introduce yourself to the audience and introduce Twilio?
Yeah, I'm Chris Koehler, Chief Marketing Officer here at Twilio, and we're a platform. We're trying to basically create the experience layer of the internet. So super excited to be here.
Yeah, great to have you on, and super excited to have you, as you said, because we're talking about something that's kind of near and dear to my heart, and those insights for sporting events are really cool. But you have this new partnership with the PGA of America, highlighting how sports organizations are really using Twilio's platform to really create that more personalized, direct engagement with fans. Again, as we said, before, during, and after these major events like the PGA Championship, which is really cool, by the way, because I like to keep that cadence going. And I'm sure they want that as well. But similar to Twilio's work with organizations like AEG and Chelsea FC, it really reflects the broader shifts in sports entertainment, building towards long-term data-driven relationships with fans rather than just focusing on a single event or a single sales of a ticket. So, Chris, let's just jump right in. I mean, when we look at this partnership, right, the PGA is using Twilio to better connect with fans before, during, and after events. We know that sending more personalized messaging than updated is creating a better digital experience for their fans. And, when we look at that, what is the scope of Twilio and PGA's partnership, and how is it similar and different from, other partnerships that you've had, with AEG or Chelsea Football Club?
Yeah, I mean, I think the nice part is PGA of America was already a fantastic customer. They were already using a pretty substantial part of our portfolio to really think about how do I drive communications, with golfers in between the PGA professionals. There's 30,000 of them, and millions of golfers, around the world. And the idea here was, how do we expand this partnership? How do we create that lifelong conversation with golfers and the PGA of America? And so this is just an extension of an already great partnership, and we felt like we could do so much more together.
Yeah, and I think it makes a lot of sense. I mean, you have some similarities between the different events. I mean, look, I need to improve my golf game. And I would love to have more insights on how to do that. But what I see about the partnership is the similarities that you can see with AEG and Chelsea is they wanted different direct relationships with their fans. They have the kind of similar things where you have wanting the data to personalize that communication. I think that's important. And then, also engage the fan year round, right? To kind of keep that cadence, and not just on game day, but on the event, as the kind of a show is going on. But one of the main differences that I was looking at when I was kind of briefed on this was the PGA is more event driven with those major tournaments, right? You have these major events that happen where, AEG runs many venues and events across multiple music and sporting events. And Chelsea Football Club really has global fan base that's always on engagement. So I think that there's something that has to do with that common theme of moving to just from promoting events to building a real relationship with the fans. I think that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and if you think about it, obviously there's the marquee events that the PGA of America and the PGA Tour put on, but there are a million of events every day. What is that golf experience that you have when you have a lesson with a PGA professional? That's an experience that we want to partner and make incredible as well. And so the idea here is we've got tons of our audience that potentially could purchase Twilio products are fans of golf, and how we want them to feel and understand what it means to create this lifelong engagement with the PGA of America by utilizing our products every day. And so that was the intent. Is we've got audiences around the globe, whether that's at live sporting events with Chelsea, or at a concert with AEG, or when they go to their local course and want to play a round of golf. All of those are touch points and experiences that we want to create incredible engagement.
Yeah. And so let's talk about it. Like, when we talk about it from the perspective of my practice, right? And we look at it, and I'm focused on the developers, I'm focused on the app dev community and what's happening. This is a critical part to developers, right? Because developers have to have that business use case and take that to like how it's working from a digital perspective. So when we look at the sports and entertainment brands and how they focus on these long-term relationships with their fans, they're really looking at really three main reasons, right? They're looking at that first party data is more important than ever. Teams want that direct connections with their fans, right? So that's important for that real-time engagement from the application. Fans also need to have and find more value over time. It's not just about that ticket of that event. It's about the merchandise. It's about memberships, streaming, experiences, etc. All this stuff is real-time data. So we start looking at that information and using those data sources to feed into the application. It really helps with it driving that experience. And then also fans also expect higher personal kind of personalized digital experience. And this is something that they're going to get from major tech companies, but this is also something that they're going to get from the relationship with these organizations. So when I look at this, Chris, it appears that sporting and entertainment brands are really increasing value for long-term customer relationship building. Is this help drive the trend? And what has really helped driving this trend? Because before it was like sell the tickets. We need to sell the tickets. Now it's about, hey, we need a relationship. So how does that work?
Yeah, I mean, I think you move from this notion of a moment in time around the event itself to the full experience before they arrive at the event. How do they find the tickets? How do they prepare for that, the experience, and then post as well. And so I think, many, let's say, retailers or travel and hospitality, they've always thought about what's this full customer journey? How do I create this lifelong engagement with my customers, and in this case, my fans? I think sports and entertainment companies are doing that as well, right? It's not just about the one-time experience. It's about the ongoing conversation and the ongoing experience that they can drive.
Yeah, and from an app dev perspective, this is an omni-channel experience as well, right? It can't just
100%.
It can't just come from like one thing. It has to come from all the digital assets that people use. So I can see how this partnership is important to Twilio, and how Twilio also provides that back end systems in order to make these digital experiences work well. But like when we look at it, I can see the partnership and how Twilio helps these organizations engage in customers across these many channels like messaging and email. But also sports organizations have a huge fan base, right? So for these major events, and which make them a great example of engagement at scale. And if you look at it from that perspective, you can't just have this like one and two kind of relationship. You really have to be able to scale, not just for that team, but maybe for the entire organization. So if you're focused on one specific club, for example, what happens to the entire organization? That's a scale problem. And that's something that I think, maybe you can address with the Twilio side of it. But also, how does this help position Twilio as a key partner and a key technology partner for for that fan engagement? It's really a big factor here. So I'll ask you this question, Chris. When it looks at from the strategic importance of this partnership, like this one and like others, what does this mean for Twilio and your platform?
Yeah, I mean, I think, we've picked some very select partners that we've either had an ongoing relationship that we wanted to do more, where they were seeing a lot of success, together around that. And we want to use this as a showcase. We've picked some of these marquee partners to say, hey, if we can show that the PGA of America can do that, or Chelsea Football Club or AEG, we think we can help drive fan experience or customer engagement globally across any industry. Consumers all want to have a great experience, and they want to be felt and understood. And I think one of the big challenges we see today is many of the brands think they're doing a good job of creating a great experience, but there's a big gap. And I know we might have talked about that the last time. And so everyone can improve on this. And I think what's really critical, and you mentioned before, how do you move from a conversation in a single channel to an ongoing conversation that is multi-channel? So let's take the PGA, for example. We want to engage with golfers via SMS, via email, via the call center. If they've got to, call their local club and think through, hey, how do I change my tee time, or I've got an issue and I've got to book a time with my golf professional. Like you, I probably need to spend more time with my golf coach. And so, when you think about how do you string that together, how do you create that ongoing conversation between the PGA and the golfer, that's critically important. But that use case can span across any industry. Everyone wants to be felt and heard and understood from the brands and companies that they work with.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think when we look at this use case and this example, it's really showcasing the multiple ways of doing it. But like when we look at how organizations can get started, say with Twilio, right, and get started with this, there can be a crawl, walk, run approach here, right? The PGA is using multiple Twilio products. That's fantastic, right? But that's also becoming, to your point, it's really becoming more common, right? Many companies start with one product like messaging, right? And over time, they add in things like email and customer data and personalization, et cetera. But the goal is really to manage the entire customer journey in one platform. You were kind of alluding to that. And so customers are moving from individual tools to do this to really have a full customer engagement platform to help them achieve these goals. And that's where I think vendors are moving towards. But that kind of crawl, walk, run approach is also important to kind of think about here, because what we don't want to do is, for the audience watching this session, we don't want them to feel like they have to do like all in or nothing, right? There's definitely ways for this to happen. But when we think about the PGA and what you're doing with the multiple Twilio products and the capabilities really is part of their engagement strategies, that is an example of how they kind of taking advantage of the full-featured customer engagement platform. But are you seeing more of this across your customer base, where they're maybe starting with something small and maybe growing to something big, and you're able to address where they are in their own journeys? Is that correct?
Yeah, 100%. Again, we see people start with messaging, we see people start with email or voice, and then they progress over time. And I think that's critical. And I think in the age of AI, we have to think about starting small as well, where we're seeing a lot of our customers from an AI perspective start in voice. We're creating an agent, that is maybe replacing a call center or supplementing a call center, where you're starting small. And we think voice AI is really important, but over time, it's going to turn into conversational AI, where you want to have that conversation span across all those different channels. But yeah, you can start in any channel and sort of add on as you talked about the crawl, walk, run. Yeah, we're open platform that allows anyone to do that.
So Chris, let me ask you this. I mean, one of the things I hear from a lot of organizations is they really want to get engaged. They want to start this. They want to move in this direction. The two challenges I typically hear is complexity and skill gap issues. From a Twilio perspective, what does that mean? Like, do you overcome some of that? I mean, from our briefings, from our discussions we've had, and from the sessions I've been in, I see it. But I'd like you to kind of, from your perspective, what would you share with the audience about like what you do to overcome some of those challenges?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's getting. I think AI is changing the dynamic around how people learn as in general. And I think it's easier than ever to figure out how to deploy new technology than maybe in the past, because of information is so ubiquitous. But we very much pride ourselves on, driving simplicity, creating a simple platform that allows builders to build on top of us. So we think about that very much, of whether it's through our documentation, our tutorials, the content that we put out there, really to make sure that they can get started for sure. And then I think from a skills gap, and again, it goes back into, is there a world where AI can help supplement, the builder and the developer to move even faster and leverage a lot of this new technology? So we're seeing that expand quite quickly as well.
Yeah, I can echo that. I mean, there's definitely that adoption of utilizing AI for productivity and gains, especially I would say there's more so from the builder level at the line of business than the professional developer. I mean, the professional developer is absolutely taking advantage of AI to help them with optimization, but this expansion out to the line of business is actually key. One of the other things to kind of think about here is how organizations are leveraging the heritage environment that they may have today, and then bridge the gap to where they want to get to. I know you have that bridge the gap story. And that's something that I often hear as well is, well, we don't want to do a forklift upgrade. It's not a greenfield opportunity. I have a brownfield opportunity. I have my existing investment. I need to figure out how to use that. What is your response to that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's you're seeing the acceleration of new startups and others that can move very rapidly because they don't have a lot of the technology that's helped them grow, like in our case, for 15 plus years. So I think it's an interesting balance of how do you modernize and update, but at the same time, start fresh with new products. And I think that's a lot of what we're doing internally today is how do we basically modernize our existing stack, continue to focus on this notion of a simple, trusted, and smart platform, but then use the new use the new technology ultimately to supercharge our development efforts.
Yeah, and I think that's the right approach, right? I mean, it's give the ability to improve, run as you need to run, but do it at the pace of innovation, right? Do it at the pace of working towards that growth. Chris, this has been awesome. We're at the end here. What would you leave the audience with? We talked a lot here, a great use case with the PGA, great customer partnerships that you have there. What would you recommend the audience? Where would they go to learn more about this?
Yeah, I mean, you come to our website, twilio.com. Happy to share some of the things we're doing, but I'd leave the audience with this. Think about if you're trying to build engagement with your customer, you can start with a single channel, but long-term, you need to think about that entire customer journey across channels. And that's going to be critically important in this new world.
Chris, very sound advice. I come from that world in my background, so I totally understand it. Makes a lot of sense to me. But thank you for your insights today. Really awesome. And congratulations on that partnership with PGA. Hopefully it'll help my golf game moving forward, which I really look forward to. But mine as well. Yeah. And a big thank you to all of you who've tuned in. We do appreciate you being part of the AppDevANGLE community. But for now, that wraps up this episode. We'll be back next Wednesday with another conversation diving into the tools, trends, and talents shaping the future of application development. So whether you're diving into the tools or developing at the edge or building with AI or modernizing your cloud stack, we've got you covered. So be sure to follow us on social if you have any thoughts, questions, or just want to connect. Until next time, stay curious and stay building. Nearly.